Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey through the first decades of our lives is not the story, but rather a preparation for what lies ahead. He said, life really begins at 40. Until then, you're just doing research. It's a bold statement that challenges the way most people view aging. We've been taught to fear aging, to see middle age as a time of decline, chaos, or crisis. Popular culture is full of cliches about the so-called midlife crisis, a time of existential terror, impulsive decisions, and desperate attempts to hold on to youth. But Jung offers a radically different perspective. What if this phase of life is not a crisis, but an awakening? What if it's not an end, but a new beginning? To understand this, we need to look at what the first 40 years of life represent. Think of these decades as a time of exploration, a time when we gather experiences, build identities, and learn how the world works. It's a time of rapid growth, where we absorb ideas and values from the people and culture around us. But it's also a time of searching. Who am I? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? These questions drive us in our youth, but the answers we find often feel incomplete. In these early years, we're trying to make sense of life while still trying to figure out who we really are. We build careers, relationships, and families, but often with an eye toward external success and social approval. We're learning, struggling, and sometimes failing. And all of this shapes us. Yet, as Jung suggests in Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, it's all preparation, research, and laying the groundwork for something deeper. As we approach our 40s, we begin to realize that the old ways of living no longer satisfy us. The priorities that once seemed so urgent, getting ahead and fitting in, meeting expectations, start to lose their appeal. We realize that so much of what we've done has been shaped by other people's definitions of success and happiness. And this realization, while disconcerting, is also liberating. It is the beginning of a new phase, a process Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of living life on our own terms. This change is not sudden, it does not happen overnight. It is gradual, often beginning with small, quiet questions. Is this all there is? Am I living the life I truly want? These questions may arise in moments of reflection, a career milestone, a significant anniversary, or even a quiet evening alone. But once they appear, they do not disappear. They grow stronger, demanding answers, and those answers require us to face ourselves in ways we never have before. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. It is easy to label these moments of questioning and change as a breakdown, but Jung invites us to reframe the experience. What if this is not a crisis? What if it is an opportunity? What if this phase of life, with all its challenges, doubts, and changes, is exactly what we need to become the person we were always meant to be? In Memoirs, Dreams, Reflections, Jung makes the observation that midlife is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of something much more real, meaningful, and authentic. To fully understand Jung's perspective, it is helpful to consider how we view the first half of life. During this phase, we are focused on building what he called our persona, the external identity we present to the world. This persona is influenced by our upbringing, culture, and societal expectations. It is the version of ourselves that seeks approval, fits in, and succeeds in the eyes of others. It is a necessary phase, without which we would not learn how to navigate society or lay the foundation for adulthood. But the persona is not the whole self, it is a mask, a role we play. And while it has its uses, it is only part of who we are. The problem arises when we become overly attached to it, mistaking it for our true selves. As we reach midlife, cracks in the persona begin to appear. The roles we have played, the successful professional, the devoted parent, the faithful partner, begin to feel restrictive. We begin to realize that there is more to us than the image we are projecting. And this is where the real work begins. Jung called this process of moving beyond the persona individuation. Individuation is about integrating all the parts of ourselves, not just the socially acceptable ones, but also the dark, hidden aspects that we have ignored or repressed. The shadow, as Jung described it in Man and His Symbols, contains everything we reject about ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires. Facing the shadow can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is essential for growth. Only by acknowledging and accepting these parts of ourselves can we become whole. In midlife, the process of individuation takes on a new urgency. The questions we face are no longer about external achievements but about internal fulfillment. What really matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to create? These are deeply personal questions, and the answers cannot be found in the expectations of others. They require us to look inward, to listen to our own inner voice. This inward looking is often accompanied by a shift in priorities. In our youth, we are driven by ambition, competition, and the desire to prove ourselves. We chase success, recognition, and material rewards. But in middle age, these pursuits lose their appeal. We begin to value different things: authenticity, connection, meaning. Life becomes less about doing and more about being. It's about proving our worth and living in alignment with our true selves. Scientific studies confirm that this shift is supported by changes in the brain. Neuroscientific research shows that as we age, the emotional centers of the brain become more balanced. We become less reactive and more reflective, better able to regulate our emotions and face life's challenges with calm and perspective. This emotional maturity allows us to make decisions based on our values rather than our fears. We stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. This does not mean that middle age is without its challenges. On the contrary, it can be a time of great turmoil. The process of questioning and redefining ourselves often involves letting go of old identities, relationships, and goals. This can feel like a loss, and it's easy to see why. Some people experience it as a crisis, but as Brett Brown points out, what we call a midlife crisis is often a dismantling. It's a time when we're challenged to let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we really are. This dismantling can be messy, and it can involve difficult conversations, major life changes, or periods of uncertainty, but it's also a time of incredible growth. Psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote that the driving force of human life is the desire to find meaning. In midlife, this desire becomes more urgent. We're no longer content to live according to someone else's script. We want a life that feels meaningful, even if it's different from what we imagined. For many, this means facing the fears that have held them back from moving forward. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of stepping into the unknown. These fears can be paralyzing, but midlife offers an opportunity to face them head-on. It's a chance to rewrite the story of our lives, to let go of what no longer serves us and embrace what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, a pioneer of humanistic psychology, described this process as self-actualization. It's the drive to realize our full potential, to become the best version of ourselves. In midlife, self-actualization takes on a new depth. It's no longer about achieving external success, but about finding inner fulfillment. It's about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This process isn't easy, but it's rewarding. Studies show that people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often report higher levels of life satisfaction than people in their 20-30s. They feel more connected to themselves and to others. They're less concerned with what others think and more focused on what brings them joy and purpose. This is the gift of midlife, the freedom to live on our own terms. Jung believed that this freedom comes from embracing the full complexity of who we are. It's about integrating the light and the dark, the successes and the failures, the dreams and the disappointments. It's about accepting ourselves completely, even the parts we find hard to face. The most terrifying thing is to accept ourselves completely, Jung said in the Red Book, but it's also the most liberating. Midlife is not a time to despair over what we've lost, it's a time to celebrate what we've gained. Wisdom, clarity, resilience. It's a time to build a life that reflects our true selves, a life that feels real and whole. It's a time to stop searching and start living. In this sense, midlife is not the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of something much deeper. It's a turning point, a chance to step into the life we were always meant to live. And while the journey can be challenging, it's also deeply rewarding. Life really begins at 40, not because we have all the answers, but because we finally start asking the right questions.